Let's jump to this border stuff. This story is the subhead on this story made me laugh. From Fox News, Texas Border Patrol agents discover stash houses packed with nearly 100 illegal immigrants. But wait, none of the apprehended migrants were wearing personal protective equipment. Good job, Fox News.
Sam, you sure that's not the Babylon Bee?
It's Fox News. That's what it says. I don't know why they brought that up. CBP said none of the migrants had been wearing PPE.
Oh my!
Agents provided them PPE, and they were medically screened before being processed. You'd think this was a Babylon Bee. CBP has not said one of the migrants tested positive for COVID-19. So the story here should be that they found 100 illegal immigrants in stash houses, but for some reason it's turned into like PPE. I guess when you drive a narrative so hard, you got people distracted. I mean, look, that Gabby Petito thing. When I was out, I know, I don't even care. I was talking to this guy earlier, and I was like, "Well, we're doing a new show. It's like mysteries, true crime, paranormal." And he was like, "Oh, so Gabby Petito?" And I was like, "Never."
Nope. Wait, why not? I want to know. I'm curious. Why not?
Because for one, the story is about a missing woman.
Correct.
There are probably 300 missing women
Many
right
of them.
now with tons of news stories.
Oh, yeah.
Secondly, we know that she's not alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that means the missing women who are alive could use some news coverage, so perhaps we can find her or them while they're still alive. Also, this guy involved in the story, apparently there's evidence there was, cross-domestic dispute stuff, and I'm like, okay, look, by all means, report the story like you'd report any other story, but this obsession with it, that's like people just started pushing all these stories nonstop about what's going on with this one guy. And I'm like, there's probably one of these women, serial killer. Hitchhiker, murderer, kidnapper. This is a guy who was in a domestic dispute where apparently in one video she was like admitted to hitting him, and then he hit her, and then who knows what happened. I don't know what happened. I'm not gonna pretend to know what happened. But it's just one story that they're giving all this attention to. And now here we are talking about it. I don't care.
I think my favorite part about that, Tim, is seeing it with like all the liberal media came out and was like, "Oh, this is a missing white woman syndrome," and they're like, we have like every month or every day 300 indigenous women go missing, and they don't get the attention. I'm like, you're the mainstream media. You're supposed to do that. Wait a minute. Yeah, you have the platform to do that.
And they're the ones who don't do it.
It's like the Spider-Man meme.
And then Brett, who works here, made a good point. He was like, didn't people nearly burn down the country because a black man was killed?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, this is just, it's the stupidest trash ever. To a certain degree, I understand what they're saying with missing white woman syndrome. They're wrong, though, because there are a bunch of missing white women who are not getting covered.
There was a video of Petito with her nipples poking through her shirt. That's why. It's a bunch of like young, oversexed guys pushing this narrative.
No, also bro. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
But you can Google search missing women and find a bunch of
But that's why
young
this
women.
one got...
No, you can find a bunch of other attractive young women who are still alive and missing right now.
With video of their nipples poking through their shirts?
Yes, Ian. Yes.
Well...
That's why I'm saying this is a stupid story, because she had some Instagram followers.
I think it was also...
And the media chose to push it. And then everyone else, having nothing better to do, were like, I guess I'll talk about it too.
Well, one thing they had better do was take the spotlight off of the Afghanistan surrender.
Oh, yeah.
That was like a week after that.
Yeah, but there were a lot of other stories. I mean, the border crisis.
Yeah, there's always something.
People love it because there's a lot of young men in this country and a lot of missing relationships. And you see a hot girl on TV, it's like, man, does that draw people's focus.
There are probably hundreds of women of the same age and same everything with videos.
Maybe it's like the right place at the right time kind of thing.
No, it's
just, like, this one's good.
Sure. It went viral on TikTok, and then the media was like, we'll roll with this story, and it was meaningless and nonsensical. So we got a real story that I don't want to deviate from, where we've got stash houses full of illegal immigrants. And so I'm like, I'm going to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about one missing person.
Right.
When there could literally, I could talk about other missing people. How about all the people being smuggled by human traffickers?
There you go.
That's not the news.
You got to get a video on them. That's it, man. People
there's tons of
they
videos.
believe what they see out of sight, out of mind.
And put it on TikTok.
Just go on my Twitter. We got the video
of all the people being smuggled.
Yeah, smuggled into the country at record numbers, and
some of these kids,
they don't make the news.
These kids are used. Mm-hmm. So some smuggler will take a child, kidnap him, and then they'll use it to cross the border and say, it's my child.
Yep.
And then as soon as they cross the border, they throw the kid and they walk away.
Or
they'll return the kid and give it to somebody else. And this kid has no idea what's going on. It's just being used as a trafficking tool so that bleeding hearts can be like, the poor baby, we should make sure they're unified with their parent. And you're like, that's not the kid's parent, dude. That's a smuggler trying to circumvent the law, claiming that kid is theirs. well, we don't know that. That's the problem when they talk about child separation. They just make up, oh, Trump was so evil he separated parents from their kids. Well, how do we know those kids are related to those old
parents,
people?
Yeah,
we don't.
Even last night, Tim, I was in Roma, Texas, and we were documenting the human smugglers bringing in these Nicaraguan migrants, and there was one man you could tell he had a little boy with him. You could tell that he wasn't the dad. He was grabbing him rough, and when we had the cameras out, he was just acting really frantic and nervous. It's like we're watching in real time, and where's the media? This is what we're seeing at the border is impacting brown and black lives. At a record number, all the human smuggling, the trafficking. Like I said, July and August is the first time in Border Patrol history that back-to-back month over 200 apprehensions. I mean, you can only imagine all the kids. And like I said, we witnessed it last night. There was this man just grabbing this kid, almost like manhandling him. And I'm like, yo, I mean, look what's going on. And Border Patrol is like, we know what's going on. That's not the dad. And that's happening every single day. And when we're down there documenting the human smuggling, one thing that I always come to mind is like, this is just a little bit part of a border that we're able to see. Could you imagine the rest of it in Arizona to New Mexico and Texas? And it's happening every day. It's become like the new normal over there. Like over there, that Roma, Texas, they're used to having the wraps drop off kids, sex traffic, human smuggling. Like I said, they had those bracelets, so you could keep track with the proof of purchase. And that's not making the news. That's not making the headlines. That should be like our top thing. Like we actually have a humanitarian crisis at our border. I don't know if the rest of America just because it's the United States, when people think humanitarian crisis, they think Yemen or the Middle East, but we literally have one here at the southern border, and it's happening every single day. It's happening right now while we're speaking.
To some extent, like people are like desensitized to it. Like since like the drum was being beaten since like 2017, like the first like Trump puts kids in cages. That was the first time when people were like, oh, there's an actual crisis at the border. And then from there, it's like today, it's like,
oh, it got dropped.
Just get dropped. It's like different group of people. Back then it was Mexico. Now it's like what, Haitians.
And I was speaking to a border patrol agent in these border facilities, right? They're in these rooms that they call pods, and these pods they're only meant for like 8 migrants at a time.
Yeah.
Border patrol agent was telling me there's like 400 people in these 8-person pods each stacked on against each other.
How many?
Like 400 in each room where they're only meant for 8. Like he said, people are literally sleeping on top of each other. Like he was texting me all this information. He's like, hey, with these Haitians, it's even worse. And that a lot of those Haitian males, they came with young children. And he's like, we're trying to break them up, from the real fathers or not. But they're like, there's so many migrants. There's just not enough that we could do. And even NBC News put out a report last month that those migrants are being sexually assaulted in those facilities. There's no way to keep track of them. The New York Times put out a report last month that one out of every 3 migrant children released into the United States, they lose track of.
Biden was smuggling kids across the United States. Remember that story?
Yep.
There's video of it, and that stuff just disappears. And the funny thing is, Joe Biden's approval rating didn't take a hit from it.
Nope.
Can I see one of those wristbands?
Well, let's.
Can I have one of those? Are you giving? Can I have one of those
Yeah.
to keep? Thanks, man. This is it. If you want to remember, I want to remember this. Thanks, dude.
And this is just like the reason why I kind of collect them and kind of bring them is just to kind of show the kind of like the American audience, like this is happening in real time. And they say, on these bracelets, they say entregas, which means delivered. And they actually treat these migrants like almost like an Amazon product, like a shipment.
Huh.
So 2 things either happen. Either the migrants have already paid, so they'll be, they'll cross and, they'll be released into the United States. Or 2 is if they didn't pay their full price, then they'll be essentially become indentured servants and slaves here in the United States.
In
Yeah, then you can see like the little kids always have these bracelets on their ankles, so they can't like easily come off. So it's just it's crazy to see it in person, and that it's literally happening in the United States. And one Border Patrol source told me that the cartels are making up to $14 million a day just off human smuggling, not even counting their
Where does this
drug
money
profits.
come from?
It's the cartel money.
Like
It's no. Well, the cartels are
migrants are in the cartels.
No. The cartels are really smart. Is when they get connected with these migrants, these huge caravans, is the majority of like the Central Americans, they already have family in the States. So what the cartels do is they get connected with the family in the States, and they make them pay the $5,000 to $6,000, $7,000 for that fee. So it's very well organized, and the people back in the States.
Where do they get that money from?
The family that already lives here in the United States.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like so
they
like,
send their money back to the
yeah.
people.
So, for instance, like I was interviewing a couple Salvadoran families that like they had to pay a coyote like $7,000 to get like their cousins here to the border. So like the cartels are smart. They'll get connected with the family members back in the U.S. They'll make them pay the fee because they have the money, and that's how they kind of organize and get here. And like I said, and if they don't pay the fee, they essentially become indentured servants, and that's something that me and Sagnik got to see firsthand. We just spent like 2 months in Southern California documenting these cartels who are coming into that area. They're starting up illegal marijuana grows. So usually when people hear illegal marijuana grows, it's like, oh, what's the big deal? It's just pot. It's just like two hippie dudes in the middle of nowhere listening to reggae. But what's happening is that these cartels found out that in California, it's so rural, these deserts, they start up illegal marijuana operations, and then they'll smuggle the migrants from South Texas and force them to work those marijuana grows.
Wow.
And they'll arm them, because out there they're having literally cartel battles between other cartels and other migrant groups.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.